Hey guys, Mr. Kreider here. This is 1.7. This is the last of the boring ones. I promise you, everything from here gets way more interesting because we start talking about real life stuff. So, Unit 2, we start talking about population. So, that stuff gets way more interesting because it's not basic kind of skills and understandings anymore. So, let's get started on 1.7. Same big ideas. By the time we're done with this one, you guys should be able to answer these questions. And if not, that's when we need to start having conversations about kind of what's missing there. Topic 1.7, regional analysis. So you should be able to describe different ways that geographers define regions. And a region is anything that can concentrate in a particular region. So here we have a regional breakup of the United States, Northeast, the South, the Midwest, and the West, and then subregions within each one of those. However, regions all have one or more unifying characteristic or pattern of activity. They can define based off one unifying characteristic, religion, or language. They can be defined based on patterns of activity, sports regions, and a number of things. We can break up regions for any number of reasons, but we should see a distinct change. So, if we're talking about the change between United States and Mexico, we see a significant language and religion change. Spanish and English, Roman Catholic versus kind of the Protestants or any other religion that's available. So when we talk about shifts in regions, we should see a change in them. First one we're going to talk about is a formal region. Formal regions offer visible uniformity, creates the region. Desert, cultural traits can also define a formal region. All one language spoken. The borders of formal regions are easy to track and are slow to change. So even regional borders by country, that is a formal region. Those borders don't change frequently. They don't kind of shift or move. Formal regions are very visible, very uniform, and very rarely do they change. A functional region is a region that it's a product of interactions and various kinds of movements. These can be very large or even very, very small. So a city and its surrounding region where people commute back and forth to work, shop, eat, etc. Tied to the point by transportation and communication systems. So like airport hubs, those are functional regions. Television stations, that is a functional region. You got to figure we don't have a local station here in Moreno Valley. So if we turn on TV, what stations are we watching? We're watching the ones from Los Angeles. So we're part of the Los Angeles functional region. Same thing with sports teams. So all of that stuff ties in to a functional region. So functional regions are within regions within like people operate. And like I said, they can be very large. So we're talking about like airplane hubs. LAX is a big one for us, Ontario, even down to San Diego, depending. So we have different airport hubs. Those are different functional regions. So, and then it goes really small to like newspaper deliveries or even the functional region around the grocery store. So very few people function within that region. Your functional region is fairly small. I'm assuming it's school and back, although we don't go to school right now. But your functional region is fairly small. Your parents' functional region is probably a little bit larger, considering a lot of parents commute out of Moreno Valley to find jobs elsewhere. So their functional region's larger. So functional regions can differ for different people too. These are Fox Sports functional regions. These all change. So for Fox Sports West, you get all of California essentially, which Fox Sports San Diego is just San Diego. And these are just different ones to kind of show you functional regions around a sports network. The last time is a perceptual vernacular regions. These ones are very hard to pinpoint because everybody's is different. If I told you what is the South, your region is different than my region, which is different from somebody else's region. So the thing to remember, perceptual vernacular regions are people's perceived impressions and images of a region, a place that people believe exists as part of a cultural identity. These are very, very hard to map. Everybody sees them different. So if you told somebody in southern Arizona they're part of the South, they might say no. But if we looked at kind of what qualifies as the South and we're looking at cactuses grow, that qualifies. So it's weird, and it all depends on how we want to label these things as what they are. So just know that perceptual vernacular regions are people's impressions, and they're hard to map. Regional boundaries are transitional and often contested and overlapping. Boundaries have to be transitional. There has to be a difference. Because if the boundary is not different, why is there a boundary? That comes to kind of the basic knowledge of it. So if there's not a change at the boundary, it's not really a boundary. Nothing's really changing. So boundaries are often contested and overlap, especially if it is not a formal region. A good example of this is the region of the Kurdish people, the Kurds, in Southwest Asia. These are a group of people we call a stateless nation, which we'll get to in Unit 4, I think. Our political unit, I'm pretty sure it's 4. The Kurdish people have no place where they can call home. They are a minority group everywhere. And if you look at the map, they're a minority group in Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. And they have been fighting for independence because they want a land they can call their own, some political representation. Geographers apply a regional analysis to the local, national, and global scales. This is what we do when we analyze maps. We did this in the last section, 1.6. If we haven't done this in a virtual class session yet with map skills, we will do this because this is a talent you have to have. So you do regional analysis. We look at maps and we analyze it. What does it say and why is it that way? So if we went back to 1.6 and we looked at that wealth in California model or map, we would see it's really high like in the Bay Area. But why is that? Well, Silicon Valley and money's there and kind of technology and development. So we can explain and do analysis of why things are the way they are. And that's kind of what this whole class is about. We're going to be looking at maps and analyzing why are things happening where they are and kind of what can we learn from it or how can we help places by learning from other places. And that's kind of the goal of this class. I believe that is it for 1.7 and we're done with unit 1. So congratulations, guys. First unit's done. 6 more to go.